Hi, I'm Louise Spencer. I'm the co-founder of Kent Street Coalition, and this is the second in our series on visibilities. In the first of the series, we talked mostly about visibilities that were holding signs. This is going to be about other types of visibilities that you might consider doing. So I'm just going to share my screen here, and we'll walk through some of the creative ideas that we've seen over the course of the last few years. First, before we do that, let's talk a little bit about why visibilities are so important. First off, they are an organizing tool. They're a great opportunity to meet other people that are interested in advocating on the issues that we care about. It's a great way to build community and solidarity, and thereby also build coalition and power. We also do them to support our champions, particularly our elected officials. It's extremely difficult, even under good circumstances, to go in day in and day out to fight the good fight. It's particularly hard right now when we have a legislature that is functioning, not functioning particularly well or in a particularly nice way. So it's great for our electeds to know that we're there, that we've got their backs, we're going to fight for them, work for them, and we can be a little bit of wind under their wings. Likewise, it's a way to hold bad actors accountable. So people in our communities are busy with their lives. They don't often know what's going on at the State House. And so we need to bring home to our communities the votes that are happening that run counter to the values of our communities, that run counter to the values of New Hampshire. So people are aware of what's actually happening, what laws are being enacted. In red towns, this is particularly important because there often aren't as many vehicles for getting the message out. The local newspaper might be primarily focused on printing letters from a red point of view. And if the local electeds are coming back, they're talking about it through their lens. So this is a way for us to reach out to the broader community. And with that, highlight the impact that it's going to have. If there are tax cuts being proposed for the wealthiest, what's this going to do to our property taxes, to our schools, to our communities? And finally, it's a way to grab media attention so that we can amplify the message that we're trying to convey. We talked in the first tutorial about small, medium, and large visibilities. Here we're talking about visibilities beyond signs. So we have a number of examples. It's not a exclusive list. There are lots of other ideas. It's limited only by our creativity and our imaginations. So the types of things that we've done are to do election weekend and election day GOTV in support of our candidates running for office. We do signboards, and we've done some games, installations, theatrical displays, and production and projections. We'll talk about each of those. So the GOTV for election day and weekends is really a way for us to get out there and show that there's enthusiasm and support for our candidates that are running, both to give the candidates that extra push they need, but also to show our community that there's a lot of support and enthusiasm. That can really move a good number of votes when people know that this candidate can bring out people to work on their behalf. You're going to look at things, organizing shifts so you can cover long periods of times. You'll want to create the sign totems, cover all of the polling places, and think about the run up to the election of having rallies and other visibility actions. So this is some of what it looks like. And you'll see it's a lot of fun. It can get cold sometimes in November, but it's really fun. It's a great way to meet people. Another thing that we're doing now are signboards, and this is the brainchild of Dennis and Deb Jakubowski. It's a way to make our message bigger and to really focus what we're trying to say in one message that supports the signs that we may also be holding. It can either be standalone or be part of a broader visibility. And yes, Governor Sununu is raising your property taxes again. That's a message we're trying to get out there over and over. This is an example of a game. This was at the Concord Market Days to highlight just how many vetoes Governor Sununu chose to do. Great bills that instead of supporting the bipartisan work of the legislature, ended up dying on his desk with the dreaded red pen. We can also do installations, which may involve having people there explaining the installations, or sometimes they're more effective when they are just presented without people obviously there and around to let the visual give the full impact. We've done this with a variety of different issues and different vehicles for conveying the message. One of the more impactful and successful was the Sununu Veto Graveyard, which we set up at the State House. And then it traveled around the state to different communities to show just how many important bills the governor had chosen to veto instead of leading and working in a bipartisan way to address the issues they represent. This visual was picked up by the media nationally and statewide and got just a lot of attention. This was to bring attention to the kids in cages and to, you can see that it's just a very poignant, stark reminder of what, and visualizing what was going on in places like Homestead and at the border. In this particular instance, it played with audio, sounds of children crying, sounds of mothers crying, and that made it very impactful. The people who set it up tried to stay out of the picture as much as possible so that it was focused on the actual visual. This was a similar trying to bring attention to the COVID-19 deaths that were happening unabated due to some of the very poor leadership, especially coming out of Washington. And these were body bags that are easily constructed with some of the foam board gravestones and a coffin that one of our members made. Again, we just set this up and left it for people to observe so that they would think about the issue and what was going on. Again, using the body bags to draw attention to the plight of the homeless on bitter cold nights and days. And this was to represent the children separated from their families at the border and put into detention centers. So the key is to try to think of something that will evoke emotion, will get people thinking, will make them want to engage and take action on the issues that we're trying to draw attention to. And this was a project organized by Glenn Ring, where these quilt pieces each represent, I believe, 45,000 people that are in detention. And it's, again, thinking about how can we both, when we're talking about large numbers of people, how can we best get that message across with a visual that makes people actually understand the enormity of the problem. Another approach is the theatrical approach, street theater, drama. We've done this too in a variety of different ways. The handmaids bring attention to restrictions on abortion and reproductive choice, particularly poignant right now as New Hampshire is looking at the first ban on abortion in our history. The Red Rebel Brigade is an international movement drawing attention to environmental issues. This involved both standing in place and then marching with the coffin around downtown Concord. This is a good way of getting inquiries from people. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? Help me learn more. Here we're in front of the State House to draw attention to the mental health boarding crisis, which has been going on for years and years, sadly. We thought that the impact of having people in hospital gowns would help drive home the reality of what people are facing as they're spending days and days on end waiting for appropriate medical care. And this was a die-in that a larger coalition did at the State House in an effort to save the ACA. Another creative approach is to do light projections. So this is where you take a very simple message and you project it onto the side of a building or onto a sidewalk. It can be large or small, depending on what you have available. This was an example of large projection at the Democratic Convention last summer, and here on the federal building in Manchester. And this is a smaller projection that took place at the State House with the added imagery of children that had been separated from their parents and had actually, some of whom had died at the border. Some folks from Kent Street actually went down to Homestead in Florida to protest there, and they did small projections on the sidewalk in order to draw attention to the need to shut down that facility. Again, more pictures of. So there's all different types of ways to get our message across. It can go from just simply holding signs to theatrical productions to projections. Really, it's your imagination, your creativity, your passion that drives this. Sky's the limit. Just also remember to have fun with it. It's a great opportunity to get out there, meet other people while still doing really effective advocacy.